Good evening and welcome to the Sleepy Dreamer. You can imagine me settling beside you now, not too close, not too far, just a calm presence in the dim glow of your room. The day has its own stories, its own noise, its own sharp edges. But for now, all of that can stand gently at the doorway. You are here, in this small pocket of night, and nothing is asked of you except to listen and to breathe. Let your body find the most comfortable shape it can, your head resting, your jaw soft, your shoulders slowly loosening, like knots in a rope sinking into warm water. Feel the air around you. Notice its temperature. Maybe it is cool against your cheeks and nose. Maybe it is warm and still, like a blanket. There might be small sounds in the distance, the faint whir of a fan, a car somewhere far away. A quiet murmur of pipes in the walls. Let them all be part of the same soft background. Nothing needs to be pushed away. Nothing needs to be controlled. Every sound can just fold gently into the night. Take a slow breath in, through your nose if that feels easy. Let it be gentle. No effort, just a small rise in your chest. Then let that breath slip out in its own time, like a tide going back to the sea, like a thought leaving the mind without a trace. As you breathe, picture the room around you, the softened edges of furniture, shadows resting on the floor, a ceiling that holds the quiet above you like a calm sky. There's a feeling that the world outside the walls is still turning. The city, or the town, or the countryside. People finishing conversations, lights turning off, one by one. But here, in this smaller circle, time begins to slow. You do not have to keep up with it. You do not have to chase anything. You can simply float on the surface of the moment, like a leaf on still water. As you rest here, a different kind of story begins to gather. Not the story of your day, not the story of tasks and lists and plans, a quieter story, a story of what lies beneath everything you know. You live in a world of solid things, walls that stay where you left them, floors that hold your weight, objects with edges you can see and touch. If you reach out, even now, you can feel something nearby. The softness of a pillow, the smooth curve of a glass bottle, the gentle texture of fabric under your fingertips. Your senses say, this is real, this is stable, this is clear. But beneath that clear surface, there is another world. A hidden landscape inside every object, inside every strand of hair, inside every breath of air you take. You do not see it when you walk through your day. You do not feel it when you touch your hand to your chest. Yet it is there, quietly, patiently, constantly. A realm where certainty loosens just a little, and possibility begins to move. Imagine the room dimming even more, not in a way that feels heavy, but in a way that feels safe. The light softens like dusk pressed into the corners. Shadows blur, edges melt. In this softened space, picture a small lantern appearing somewhere near you. Not a bright lamp, not a harsh beam, just a little glowing presence hovering in the air. Its light does not hurt your eyes. It flickers in slow, steady pulses, warm gold like candlelight reflected on water. Within that glow, a suggestion begins to form. The suggestion is this: what if everything you see, everything you touch, everything that seems solid and sure, is built from a dance that is not solid at all? Deep inside your pillow, deep inside the walls, deep inside your own bones and blood, there is motion. Not the motion of gears and machines, not the motion of doors opening and closing, a much smaller motion, a trembling of tiny units of matter and energy. We call them particles, but the word particle might make you think of dust. Little grains, tiny pebbles, little marbles that move around. That image is simple, and it is useful, but it is not quite true. In the strange world we're moving toward, what we call a particle is also something else. It is a point and a pattern, a speck and a spread, a presence and a possibility. You can imagine it as a shimmer. Sometimes it looks like a dot of light. Sometimes it spreads out, like a ripple moving through a pond. Sometimes it seems to be in more than one place, at once. When scientists speak of this, they talk about waves and quanta. A quantum is a small step of energy. Not any amount, but a tiny packet, like a single soft note in a long song. Light comes in these packets, matter comes in these packets, yet those packets do not always sit still like little beads. They can act like waves, like gentle, overlapping rings spreading on a quiet lake. They can interfere with each other. They can create patterns of brightness and darkness, the way waves on water create patterns of peaks and hollows. If you close your eyes for a moment, you can imagine those patterns, soft bands of light and shadow. A gentle stripe here, a slightly darker stripe next to it, like moonlight passing through blinds and resting on your walls. This is how the smallest pieces of the universe can behave. Sometimes they arrive like small flashes, like single stars. Sometimes they appear like broad, soft waves, filling a space with rhythmic possibility. They are both, in a way that defies the rigid lines of everyday thought. Feel the mattress, or the surface beneath you, supporting your weight. Now imagine that all of this support is made of atoms. Atoms themselves are mostly empty space, tiny dense centers with clouds of electrons moving around them, not in neat circles, but in what we call orbitals. Orbitals are not little tracks, they are regions of possibility, places where an electron is likely to be found, if we look. They are three-dimensional waves of probability, wrapped gently around the heart of the atom. You can picture them as soft shells of mist, shells inside shells, like layers of a delicate glowing onion made of light. Each layer has its own shape, its own quiet rhythm. Electrons settle into these layers the way notes settle into a chord. So under your hand, in your pillow, in your own chest, trillions of these quantum patterns are present. You cannot see them. You cannot feel them as separate things, yet they hum in their own way, in their own invisible music. Space itself is not empty either. Even the air above your face, the dark space between your eyes and the ceiling, is alive with invisible activity. Particles appear and vanish. Fields extend everywhere. Energy moves in tiny steps. All of it is quieter than any sound you can hear, smaller than any shape you can imagine. If this feels like too much to hold, that is all right. You do not have to understand it. You only have to feel the mood of it, the sense that beneath your normal world there is a softer, flickering, shimmering layer, like dreams beneath waking, like currents beneath still water, like starlight hiding behind clouds. Take another slow breath in. Let it fill not just your lungs but your attention. Then let it fall out again, like a wave smoothing the sand. As you breathe, imagine that with each exhale, the surface world relaxes a little more. Names and labels drift away. Tomorrow's plans drift away. Even the idea of understanding drifts away. All that remains is feeling. The feeling of your own weight sinking slightly. The feeling of air kissing your skin. The soft glow of that lantern in the dark, opening a doorway into a smaller world. Through that doorway, we do not march, we do not rush, we drift. Picture yourself shrinking, gently, without fear. Not your real body, just the image of you in your mind. You become smaller, and the room becomes wider around you. The fibers in your blanket grow large, like ropes. The dust motes in the air look like pale planets. You drift down between the fibers. You float past the dust. You move toward the atoms that build all of it. They look nothing like tiny balls. They are more like glowing clouds, faint soft clusters of light, with darker centers where the nuclei rest. The nuclei are made of protons and neutrons. Those are made of smaller things still, quarks and gluons, woven with force. Yet you do not need to catalogue them. You simply watch the light. You watch the way it distributes itself, not as a solid object, but as a pattern of where it might be. In this world, certainty is different. You cannot say, the electron is exactly here, moving exactly this way at the same time. The more we try to pin down its place, the more its motion blurs. The more we try to measure its motion, the more its place blurs. This is not a flaw in our tools. It is a truth of the small, a quiet rule of existence at this scale. But that rule, that strangeness, is gentle. It does not threaten you. It simply tells you that underneath your need for exactness, reality is softer. It is more like a cloud than a brick. Think of memories. Some are sharp, with clear edges. Some are hazy, drifting, more feeling than picture. The quantum world is like that, not because it is fuzzy in our minds, but because it is fuzzy in itself. Energy, too, moves in steps here. An electron bound to an atom cannot have just any energy. It cannot rest at any level it likes. It must choose from certain allowed states like rungs on a ladder. When it falls from a higher rung to a lower one, it releases a quantum of light, a photon, a tiny packet of energy that travels away at the speed of light, carrying a small piece of the story with it. That photon might be part of the warm glow from a lamp. It might be part of the sunlight that wakes you. It might travel for billions of years through empty space from a distant star just to reach your eye. In this moment, imagine one of those photons. It leaves an atom, somewhere very small. Before it is detected, before it meets your eye, it behaves not just as a point, but as a wave, spread out over possibilities. It is a ripple of chance and light, moving through the dark. Then, at the instant it is absorbed, the wave becomes a single event, a dot on a detector, a tiny spark on your retina, one possibility made real. You can think of this as a story, not just numbers and symbols, but a narrative of what might be becoming what is again and again, in countless tiny acts beneath notice. The universe is built from these acts, from particles that are not only particles, from waves that are not only waves, from patterns of probability that solidify into experience. As you rest here, breathing slowly, your mind does something similar. It holds many possible thoughts, many possible feelings. Somewhere between wakefulness and sleep, those possibilities drift. You might think briefly of something that happened today. You might remember a face. You might picture a place you have not visited in years. These are like waves, moving through you, soft and overlapping. You do not have to choose one. You do not have to follow any of them. You can let them all remain as gentle maybes, as if your mind itself were resting in a kind of superposition. Eventually, when you drop deeper into sleep, one dream may rise, one scene, one feeling. It'll feel solid and real for a time, but this now is the in-between. This is the place where many things are possible and none is urgent. In that way, you're already close to the quantum world, without effort, without strain. The lantern's glow in your inner room grows softer and wider. It spreads along the walls, it touches the floor, it reflects in an imagined pool of water, still and dark at your feet. On the surface of that water, tiny ripples begin to form, not because anything has disturbed it, not because anything has fallen in, just because this is how the story wants to show you waves. They are delicate, almost invisible at first. Small lines of light moving outward, arcs that grow, overlap, interfere with each other. Where two crests meet, the water rises a little higher. Where a crest and a trough meet, they flatten, almost cancel. You watch this pattern, patient and slow. It feels familiar, even if you have never seen it like this before. It feels like breathing. It feels like the rise and fall of your chest, the rhythm of your heart, the tides of your own inner ocean. This is the language of the small, particles as waves, energy as steps, presence as probability. Nothing is rigid here. Nothing is completely fixed. And yet, from all this softness, from all this shimmering uncertainty, the solid world you know emerges. The bed beneath you, the room around you, your own hands. They are built from this dance, layered and layered, until the fuzziness of the small becomes the firmness of the large, the way individual notes become the fullness of a symphony. You do not hear the notes separately. You feel the whole. In the same way, you do not see the quantum world in your daily life. You live inside its finished music. Take another breath, slow and gentle. Feel the air move in. Feel the air move out. Let any tension left in your body fall with it. You are safe here, resting at the threshold between your familiar world and the hidden one beneath it. You do not need equations. You do not need to solve anything. You simply float at the doorway, watching the light, listening to the quiet. Somewhere, deep inside the matter that holds you, the quantum world continues its silent performance. Particles shimmer between being here and there. Energy shifts in tiny, precise amounts. Waves of possibility spread and meet and fade. And as you drift on the edge of sleep, it all feels strangely tender, as if the universe itself were breathing with you, as if every atom were a small, patient heartbeat, as if, somewhere in the quiet, matter shivers like starlight, remembering its shape. That quiet shimmer of starlight inside matter lingers in your mind, like a soft afterglow behind your closed eyes. It does not ask for attention. It does not insist on being understood. It simply rests there, a small and gentle strangeness at the heart of what feels solid and sure. As you breathe, you can feel how your body trusts the larger world. The bed holds your weight. The floor stays where it is. The walls do not drift away. You turn slightly, or let one hand fall more loosely at your side, and everything around you behaves in the ordinary way. Your pillow does not vanish. The room does not tilt. Gravity keeps you close, and the night folds over you like a familiar blanket. It is easy to believe that reality is always like this, stable, predictable, obedient to sense. Yet that shimmer underneath, that soft trembling in the smallest world, tells a different kind of story. A story in which certainty is not as rigid as you once thought. A story where what is and what might be blend together just for a while. You lie there, still and quiet, and it is as if your attention begins to sink a little deeper, the way a stone sinks through water, past the surface of comfort, past the layer of familiar objects, down into the place where questions live. The question does not arrive like a shout. It arrives like a lantern lowered slowly into a deep well. The light moves downward, and as it does, it reveals gentle shapes on the walls, not sharp symbols, not harsh diagrams, just hints of meaning, curves of possibility, soft edges of thought. The question is simple yet wide. Why does this hidden world behave so strangely when the world above it seems so steady? How can the same universe hold both a solid bed and a trembling particle? How can it be that certainty rules your day, but uncertainty rules the very pieces that build your day? You do not need a neat answer. You only need to follow the feeling of that question, the way you might follow the sound of a distant tide. A slow rhythmic pull somewhere beyond the edge of sight. Imagine the room fading from view, not in a way that takes it from you, but in a way that makes it soft and translucent. The walls become pale outlines. The furniture becomes quiet shapes. Your body remains, a warm presence in the middle of it all. Now imagine that every solid line cracks open just a little into options. The bed is not just here. It is also a spread of possibilities for where each atom might be. The air is not just still. It is a cloud of potential motions waiting to settle. At our own size, these possibilities cancel out. They average into something smooth. They create the impression of certainty. But underneath, at the scale of atoms and electrons, reality resists being pinned down too tightly. This is the realm of superposition, a word that sounds heavy, like a textbook, but in truth carries a very gentle idea. In superposition, a quantum object does not choose one option, one state, one place, until it must, until something interacts with it, until something asks the universe a question about it. You can imagine a small, quiet particle resting in the dark. It has ways it could move, paths it could take, energies it could hold. Instead of picking one, it holds many at once, not in the way you hold many things in your hands, but in the way a melody can hold many notes at the same time. A chord does not choose one note. It keeps them together, woven into one sound. In the same soft way, a particle in superposition holds a blend of possibilities. It is as if it is here and there, high and low, moving left and moving right, all at once, but only in the quiet language of potential. When something touches it, when it is measured, when the universe leans in to see, that spread of maybes resolves into a single answer. You're used to things having one clear state. The light is on or off. The door is closed or open. The glass is full or empty. But in this small world, there is a time before such decisions. A time when the door of reality is not yet open or closed, but gently resting in a blend of both. Like a dream that has not decided which way to turn. Think of the moment before you make a choice. You might lie in bed and consider whether to turn to one side or the other. For a brief span, both choices exist in your mind. You can picture each one, feel each possibility in your imagination. Then, eventually, your body moves. You roll onto one side. One option becomes real. The other becomes only a thought that did not come to pass. Superposition is like that, but it is not just in the mind, it is in the thing itself. The particle truly rests in a blend of possible states, and only when the equivalent of movement happens, when observation or interaction occurs, does one route become real. At this delicate level, certainty is not the starting point. Possibility is. Certainty comes later, like a footprint pressing into sand that was smooth just a moment before. Breathe in slowly. Feel the air slide cool and smooth through your nose, down into your chest. Hold it for one small, easy beat. Then let it escape, long and quiet, as if even your breath were spreading out into options before settling into stillness. As you float with this idea, another quiet principle begins to glow at the edges of your attention. It is a rule about how much we can know at once, and it lives at the heart of the quantum world. It is called the uncertainty principle. The name might sound dramatic, but the feeling of it is very soft. It does not say that we know nothing. It does not say that the universe is chaos. It simply says that there is a limit to how exactly we can know certain pairs of things at the same time. For example, if we try to know exactly where a particle is, we lose some clarity about how it is moving. If we try to know exactly how it is moving, we lose some clarity about where it is. The product of these uncertainties has a minimum, set by a small constant of nature. You can picture this not as a harsh restriction, but as a kindness, like a rule in a library that keeps the space quiet enough to read. It is a limit that gives the quantum world its gentle fuzziness. Imagine looking at a star in the night sky. If you focus very sharply on that single point of light, the darkness around it fades. The rest of the sky becomes less detailed. You have clarity in one place and blur in another. Now imagine softening your gaze. The star itself becomes a little less sharp, but you start to see more of the surrounding sky. The faint outline of the Milky Way, the subtle glow near the horizon. Your attention cannot hold every detail at perfect focus at once. It has a kind of uncertainty built into it. The more you sharpen one thing, the more another softens. In the quantum world, this is not about human attention. It is about the fabric of reality itself. The more precisely one aspect is defined, the more the other becomes a spread of possibilities. This sounds abstract, yet it is happening everywhere, constantly, even now, in the atoms of the air you breathe, in the electrons flowing through circuits that power quiet devices near you, in the elements that make up your own body. The universe allows particles to be described with a gentle blur, rather than a perfect pinprick. It allows waves of probability to extend through space. It allows superpositions where many outcomes rest together, like chords of possibility waiting to be heard. From your place in bed you do not see this. You see certainty. You see a cup placed on a table. It stays where it is. You expect it to be there when you look again. That expectation is usually right at your scale, because millions upon millions of quantum events blend together into stability. But underneath, each event, each small part, follows those softer rules. The world you live in is a calm ocean whose surface hides countless tiny ripples. Let your mind rest in the image of those ripples, not frantic waves, not storms, just small overlapping patterns in a dark, wide sea. Sometimes when two ripples meet, they rise higher. Sometimes when a crest meets a hollow, they level out. This is interference, and it is one of the clearest signs that the quantum world behaves like waves. In certain experiments, particles like electrons are sent one by one toward a barrier with slits. Classically, you might think each electron is a tiny bullet passing through one slit or the other. But on the screen beyond, a pattern appears, not of two simple bands, but of many bands, bright and dark, like the pattern of water waves passing through two openings and overlapping. Even when the electrons come alone, spaced out in time, the pattern grows line by line into that same wave-like image. as though each electron acts like a wave and interferes with itself. You do not have to picture the apparatus. You do not have to remember the name of the experiment. Let it be a story instead. One small thing moving through space, behaving like many paths, leaving behind a gentle sketch of interference on a distant wall. This is part of why the question beneath reality glows so steadily. The question is not just, what is the universe made of? The question is, what does it mean for something to be real when it behaves as if it is spread across possibilities until we look? As you breathe, you may notice small sensations in your body, the weight of your limbs, the pull of gravity, the slow adjustments of muscles as they settle. Each sensation seems fixed. This hand is here, this leg is there, this point on your back touches the bed, yet your experience is built from signals, nerves sending tiny electrical messages, signals travelling along pathways, arriving in the brain, forming a picture of here I am. Even in your own awareness, there's a kind of quiet construction taking place, pieces of information joining together to create a sense of certainty, a sense of a definite you, in a definite place, in a definite posture. Beneath that construction, in the depths of the physical world, the quantum rules continue. Particles do not hold one sharp position and one sharp momentum at the same time. They rest in states of potential and blur. They're described by wave functions, mathematical objects that carry all the possible ways they might be found. You do not need the equations. Let the idea itself be enough. In this realm, reality is more like a poem than a list. It is more like a cloud than a brick. That softness can be unsettling at first, to a mind trained to love clear definitions and sharp outlines. But as you lie here, in the dark, you may find it becomes comforting. If the universe itself allows uncertainty at its roots, then perhaps you can allow a little uncertainty in your thoughts. You do not need to know exactly what tomorrow will bring. You do not need to hold every plan in perfect clarity. You can let your own life be a mixture of options for a while. You can rest in your own kind of superposition between tasks, between roles, between decisions. The day demands choices. It wants you to collapse into definite answers. But the night is kinder. The night allows you to float. Here, in this stretched moment, you're not required to be certain. You're allowed to be in between waking and sleeping, in between questions and answers, in between here and somewhere softer. Your mind may still offer you thoughts, memories, little flashes of conversation, small worries that try to step forward. You do not need to push them away. You do not need to follow them. You can let them drift across your awareness like shadows across a wall, present but not anchored. In the quantum world, when something is not being measured, not being forced into a definite outcome, it evolves as a wave of possibilities, quiet, smooth, inevitable in its own gentle way. Your thoughts can be like that now, evolving but not forced, moving but not commanded. You breathe. The air moves in and out. Your body settles. The question beneath reality glows softly, not needing an answer, only nearness. What is real? When the smallest things behave like possibilities rather than points. What is solid? When the foundation is made of shimmering chance. What does it mean to live in a world built on uncertainty, and yet feel so much certainty in your day? You can feel the weight of those questions, but here, in the dark, they are not heavy. They are like feathers drifting in slow circles. They do not press down on you. They float above you, gentle and slow, like quiet birds gliding across a twilight sky. Your attention rises to meet them, then falls again into your body, back and forth, up and down, like the tide. And as this motion continues, you sense something new. Not a solution, not a conclusion, but a deeper layer of calm. It comes from accepting that the universe can be both strange and steady, both uncertain and supportive. The floor will still be there in the morning, the sun will still rise, your daily objects will still behave. Underneath, the quantum world will keep its secrets and its soft rules and its shimmering blur. You do not need to tame it. You do not need to turn it into something simple. You can let it remain a quiet mystery, wrapped in gentle metaphors, glowing like a distant shore. The lantern in your inner room now hangs lower, closer to the imagined floor. Its light reaches a still pool, and you see the reflection wavering there. Not clearly, not sharply, but beautifully. Beneath every solid thing, beneath every thought of "this is how it is," there is this trembling, patient veil. It moves with the softness of breath. It ripples with the delicacy of a calm sea touched by starlight. You rest at its edge, feeling no need to cross, content to simply know that it is there. A question, glowing quietly, a presence behind the everyday. A veil of possibility stretching under everything you have ever touched. And as you lie in the dark, the awareness of that veil does not wake you, it soothes you. Because if beneath every solid thing there is a trembling softness, then perhaps there is room too for your own softness, your own uncertainty, your own quiet, unfolding dream. The thought drifts outward, slow as a tide at night, and leaves you with one lingering feeling, that beneath every surface, beneath every certainty, there rests a gentle, shimmering layer of maybe, a trembling veil of possibility waiting to be felt. The question beneath reality fades into a soft, shimmering quiet, and from that quiet a new motion begins to rise, not sharp, not sudden, more like the gentle widening of a ripple that had been waiting just beyond your awareness. You feel it first as a subtle shift in the air around you, as though something has begun to move without disturbing the stillness. A slow pulse, drifting outward, a sense that the quiet veil beneath certainty is not merely a static thing, but a living, breathing rhythm. Your breath follows that rhythm instinctively, longer on the exhale, smoother on the inhale, your body sinking deeper into the softness beneath you, and from that deeper place, a new image begins to form, a pattern, a rhythm, a dance. The shimmer you saw before, gentle, scattered, uncertain, begins to stretch like a sheet of light poured across water. It doesn't rush, it unfolds, expanding until it becomes a wide velvet darkness, touched by fine threads of pale motion. These threads look like waves, but they are not quite waves of water or air. They move without weight, they move without wind, they move through the space itself, humming with possibility. A sound seems to accompany them, though it is more imagined than heard. A low, distant murmur, like a note played on a string stretched across the night. One long tone, rising and falling in slow breaths. You lie very still as the sound gathers shape. Your awareness drifts toward the trembling motion, the wave-like pulse, the spreading soft arcs that glide through the unseen. This is the dance at the heart of quantum physics, the dual nature of the smallest things. Particles that behave like waves, waves that behave like particles, not choosing until the universe insists upon a single form. Picture an electron, not a tiny marble, not a little bead darting through space. Picture instead a ripple in the dark. a soft glow that spreads outward, touching many places at once, never committing to a single point until it must. You see its motion now. It moves through this imagined velvet sea, not as a dot, but as a presence, broad, delicate, trembling with potential. Its shape is not fixed. Its edges breathe. Its rhythm pulses in smooth waves that interfere with each other, fold into each other, drift apart again. This wave is described by something called a wave function, though the word feels far too rigid for what it represents. A wave function is not a place. It is not a thing. It is a map of maybes, a description of all the places the electron could be found if someone were to look. But right now, no one is looking, not truly, not in a way that forces its hand. So the electron remains spread out, resting in its soft, wave-like shape, moving with the grace of breath across the unseen. You can imagine it as a swirl of faint blue light, curling and uncurling like mist, illuminated by a distant moon you cannot see. When two such ripples meet, they create patterns, beautiful, intricate forms of brightness and dimness, like silk folds shifting in a breeze. This is interference, not a human interference, not a disruption, but the natural meeting of waves. Where two crests overlap, the light brightens. Where a crest meets a trough, the light dims. Where motions align, the rhythm grows stronger. Where they conflict, the rhythm softens. It is the same phenomenon you would see if you dropped two pebbles into a pond and watched their ripples mingle. But here, the pebbles are not real, the pond is not water, and the ripples exist only in the realm of potential. Still, the effect is real. So real that if you were to perform the famous double-slit experiment, sending electrons through two narrow openings, you would see over time a shimmering pattern emerge, bright stripes, dark stripes, a tapestry woven not from matter alone, but from possibility itself. Even if you send the electrons one at a time, patiently, slowly, waiting between each one, the pattern still appears. Each electron behaves like a wave until the moment it meets the screen. Then, and only then, does it act like a particle, leaving a single dot, a single mark, a single decision. But over many electrons, the collective map of their wave-like nature becomes visible, a quiet proof that the unseen world is not bound by the rules you know, a quiet reminder that reality is not always what it appears to be. As you float through this imagined space, the waves begin to shift in colour. Soft blues deepen to violet, violet melts to silver, silver fades into gold, each hue moving with the slow tempo of your breath. The dance becomes more intricate, the waves stretch wider, they overlap with greater complexity. They curl through each other like ribbons in slow motion. You feel the beauty of it, not in a way that wakes you, but in a way that softens you, or diluted through warmth, wonder softened through rest, curiosity reduced to a quiet hum between heartbeats. This is the transition from the cognitive to the sensory. You're no longer thinking about electrons. You're feeling the rhythm of their world, the fluidity, the softness, the freedom of form. In the physical universe, electrons around atoms form standing waves, not the kind that travel across space, but the kind that remain shaped by their own boundaries. They hum at certain frequencies, settle into certain energy levels, creating shells of possibility around the atomic nucleus. These shells are not spherical layers like stacked ornaments. They are shapes of vibration, some like gentle clouds, some like petals, some like loops. Each shape is a solution to the electron's wave function. Each shape is the quiet pattern of a particle that does not stand still, but does not fly away. You can imagine these orbitals now, glowing around you in slow rotation. One shaped like a sphere of soft mist, another like two petals of pale light, opening and closing as if breathing, another like a ring, thin and trembling, circling the darkness with a faint golden halo. You drift among them without touching, weightless, suspended in this gallery of quiet geometry. Each orbital hums with its own tone, barely audible, like a choir singing in frequencies too soft for waking ears. You float between them, and the tones blend. A deep hum from a spherical orbital, a lighter, trembling note from a petal-shaped one, a whispering ring from the circular one. Together they create a harmony, gentle and strange, like the universe humming in its sleep. In your chest, your breath echoes this harmony. In your mind, an image forms of waves layered upon waves, shaping the structure of matter without ever becoming solid, rigid lines. The quantum world is not a place of walls and floors, it is a place of probability fields, a place of rhythms. A place of shapes defined not by edges but by likelihood. You feel yourself drifting closer to one of the waves, watching the rise and fall of its brightness. When it crests, the light gathers, luminous and warm. When it dips, the light fades into soft shadow. The beat is not mechanical, it is alive, organic, as though it carries memory, as though it carries intention. But it does not need intention. Natural laws alone create this delicacy. Natural laws shape the dance. And yet, the effect on you is emotional. You feel as though you are watching thought take form, as though you are watching possibility become rhythm, as though you are watching the universe breathe. Another wave drifts close, passing beneath the first like two layers of silk sliding over each other. Their meeting creates a ripple in the ripple. A new pattern emerges, softer, finer, intricate as lace. You reach out with your mind not to touch, but to sense the meeting. You feel a tingling across your skin, a coolness, like stepping into a shadow on a warm afternoon. The sensation is not physical, but your imagination receives it easily, willingly. Then the waves separate, continuing their paths, still connected by the memory of their meeting. This is the essence of wave behavior, connection through pattern, influence without collision. Your awareness drifts deeper. The waves grow larger, filling your inner vision. Some curl here, some stretch there. Some fold into spirals that unwind slowly in the dark. This unfolding feels familiar. It feels like thought unraveling at the end of a long day. It feels like emotion easing after being held too tightly. It feels like the moment you let go of an idea and it floats away on its own, becoming lighter with each passing breath. The quantum world doesn't just describe matter, it mirrors your own inner world. Your thoughts too exist in superposition before you choose one. Your emotions too interfere, overlap, amplify, cancel. Your awareness too behaves like a wave, expanding when unfocused, narrowing when observed. The parallel is not scientific, but poetic. And in this space, in this dreamlike journey, poetry is enough. A new wave enters your awareness, pale and trembling. It moves faster, though fast here is still gentle. Its motion is tighter, its wavelength shorter. This represents higher energy, a more excited state. Then, with a single soft shimmer, it releases that extra energy as light, not a flash, not a spark. Just a soft pulse of golden glow drifting into the darkness. This moment echoes a physical truth. Electrons release photons when they fall from higher energy levels to lower ones. A drop in energy becomes light. A descent becomes illumination. You watch the photon drift away. It travels with perfect steadiness, neither rushing nor slowing. It has no mass, so it feels no resistance. It simply moves forward at the speed of light, as all photons do, regardless of their origin. As it moves, it spreads in a gentle sphere of possibility, like a bubble expanding in the night. You see not a single trajectory, but many. A bloom of paths it could follow, all radiating from one moment of release. Eventually you sense it fade, not because it disappears, but because it has gone beyond your inner horizon, too far to see. Its departure leaves a soft gold afterglow in your awareness. You breathe into that glow. Your chest rises and falls with the same gentle tempo. Your body warms slightly, as though touched by the photons passing. The waves begin to gather again, forming patterns of more complexity. Some align, creating bright ridges of possibility. Some misalign, creating soft valleys of near darkness. Together they form an interference tapestry, stretching beyond your sight. This tapestry is reality in motion, not the reality you live day to day, but the reality that underlies everything. The dance of the unseen, shaping the scene. The trembling core beneath the calm surface of your world. The waves expand, they fill the inner sky. They pulse in cycles that match your breath, your heartbeat, the slow easing of your thoughts. You feel yourself being carried by them, not lifted, not pushed, carried, like a small leaf floating on a gentle tide. There is no effort here, no need to resist, no need to understand. You let go a little more. Your internal edges soften. Your thoughts spread thin, quiet, growing translucent. And still the waves dance. They move in ways that seem purposeful, yet they follow only the laws of nature, simple, elegant rules that create infinite beauty. One wave brushes past you like a whisper. It leaves the sensation of cool night air on your cheek. Another rises nearby, its presence warm, like a lantern carried along a distant path. You move through these sensations without anchoring to any of them. They arrive, they pass, they dissolve, and in their dissolving you feel yourself drifting deeper into stillness. Your breath slows even more. Your body releases another small layer of tension, one you didn't know you were holding. The waves pulse in slow unison now, as if synced with you. Their motion becomes a steady rhythm, like the swelling of a quiet symphony. You drift not above them, not below them, but within them, part of their motion, part of their unfolding. The waves continue outward, spreading across the imagined dark until they become too large to see. But even when unseen, you feel their presence, a deep resonant hum inside your chest, a quiet recognition in your mind. The quantum world is not far away. It is here, in every atom, in every piece of matter, in every part of you. You belong to this dance. You are made of these waves. Your existence rests on their delicate, shimmering truth. And so the final image of this section settles gently into place. Waves folding into one another like hidden music waiting to be heard, drifting through the spaces between everything you know, as though the universe whispers softly in the language of possibility. The waves of possibility drift outward, softer and softer, until their patterns thin like mist and dissolve into the wider dark. Yet even as they fade from sight, you feel a trace of their motion remain in the air around you, as though the rhythm they carried continues to hum in a quieter register. a slow pulse, a low, velvety tone that lingers beneath your breath. And from that quiet tone, another motion begins to rise. Not a wave this time, not a faint shimmer or trembling ripple, something more delicate, more intimate, like two small lights glowing at opposite ends of a dark field, pulsing in gentle unison. They seem far apart, yet something between them feels linked, like a subtle bridge woven from threads too fine to see. You sense that the story wants to follow these lights, and you allow yourself to drift with them, floating inward toward the first glow. It is warm, faint, and steady, like a candle sheltered in cupped hands. The second glow pulses at the same gentle pace, even though it rests at a great distance in the imagined landscape. They are separate, yet not separate. Far, yet close. As though distance has lost its usual meaning here. You begin to understand, not with analysis, but with feeling, that this is a glimpse of entanglement, a phenomenon so strange, so delicate, that even the soft waves of quantum behavior seem simple beside it. Entanglement is not motion. It is not a force or a push. It is a relationship, a deep, quiet bond that forms between particles that have shared a past. Imagine two electrons born from the same event, like two sparks released from the same stone when it is struck. In the moment of their creation, their properties intertwine, their fates wrap gently around one another like threads of the same fabric. Then they drift apart, one travelling left, one travelling right, separating through the unseen world. They move far beyond the place where they began. Perhaps they drift into the orbits of different atoms. Perhaps they are carried by fields. Perhaps they travel across a great void, toward opposite edges of a space your mind can hardly picture. But even when separated, something remains shared. If you were to ask one electron a question, to measure it, to uncover its hidden orientation, it would answer in a way that immediately shapes the answer of the other. Not through communication, not through a signal that crosses the distance, but because the universe has chosen to treat the two as parts of one quiet whole. You watch the two lights flicker again. Their glow deepens. One brightens by a small degree, and the other brightens too at the exact same moment, as though echoing the change. Not delayed, not gradual, instant. A shared shift that moves across the space between them without crossing it. And yet nothing travels from one light to the other. The bond does not move. It simply exists, independent of distance, like a thread woven through the fabric of space itself. You drift closer to the first light, and the warmth grows on your skin. You drift toward the second, and the warmth feels the same. They are not clones. They are not identical. They are connected. In the quantum world, entanglement means that the properties of one particle cannot be fully described without referencing the other. They form a single state, a single pattern, a single whisper across the dark. You breathe slowly, letting this understanding settle with the softness of falling snow. There is no need to hold it tightly. You can let it rest like a feather on your awareness, light enough that it does not disturb your stillness. Scientists describe entangled pairs using mathematical objects called joint wave functions, states that do not break cleanly into separate parts. But here, in this dreamlike space, you can think of them simply as two lanterns woven together by an invisible thread, glowing in perfect sympathy. No matter how far apart they drift, the thread does not weaken, it does not stretch, it does not fray. You sense the thread now, not as a line, but as a soft warmth spreading between the two lights. It feels like a shared breath, a shared heartbeat, a shared memory. You picture your own experiences, moments when you felt connected to someone across distance, a friend you thought of just before they called, a loved one whose mood you sensed before hearing their voice, the quiet resonance between minds that share history, share closeness, share a piece of something unspoken. These human moments are not literal entanglement, but the metaphor fits gently. Connection across distance, influence without contact, a bond that remains even when silence fills the space between you. You let your mind drift over these feelings without anchoring to any specific memory. Just the warmth of connection, just the sense of threads woven softly between hearts. In the darkness, the two glowing particles pulse again, their motion even slower now as though relaxing into their link. You float between them, sensing how each glow affects the other without touching. The warmth moves in gentle waves. The rhythm becomes synchronized. The field around them grows faintly luminous, as if shaped by the harmony of their connection. You imagine the space between them thickening with a soft golden haze. This haze is not a medium. It does not carry information. It is simply an expression of the bond, like dew forming on the grass when humidity rises, not because the grass demanded it, but because the air invited it. In the physical world, entanglement does not allow messages to travel faster than light. It doesn't break the cosmic speed limit. It doesn't whisper secrets across space. It simply reflects the truth that the two particles belong to a single quantum story, no matter how far apart they roam. And as you drift nearer, you see that this story holds a softness the everyday world does not show. The everyday world insists on separation. Here is one object, here is another. Distance defines their difference. But beneath that familiar layer, quantum physics reveals a deeper unity, a merging, a shared existence, a reminder that some connections are woven into the universe so deeply that even space cannot undo them. You breathe again, and with each slow inhale, the two glows brighten. With each soft exhale, they dim in unison. It is as though your own breath has become part of their rhythm, threading you briefly into their quiet partnership, not as a participant, but as a witness resting at the edge of their harmony. The dark field begins to shift, its edges blur. The horizon stretches into a vast velvety expanse. The two lights drift farther apart, carried by currents you cannot see, yet their connection remains unchanged. The warmth does not weaken. The pulse does not stagger. The thread does not fade. You follow one glow as it drifts left, then follow the other as it drifts right, and in both directions you feel the same calm, the same gentle hum, the same sense that distance is a language that does not fully apply here. Like shadows stretching across a wall, longer or shorter depending on the angle of the light, yet always belonging to the same object. You imagine these entangled particles travelling across the universe, one falling into the heart of an atom in a distant star, one drifting into a molecule of water on a quiet world, their fates still linked, timelessly, effortlessly, not for a purpose, not for meaning, but because this is how the universe allows its stories to be written. You let your awareness drift outward with them, but not too far. Just enough to sense how their connection remains like a soft vibration, humming in the fabric beneath everything, a vibration that feels familiar, almost human, almost emotional. The warm thread between the two lights begins to thicken, not with colour, but with feeling. It becomes a sensation of closeness, the kind you feel in the presence of someone who understands you without words. A sense of being seen, not with eyes, but with resonance. You drift closer to the thread itself. It isn't a line, it isn't a shape, it is a field, like a breath shared between distant lungs, or a memory shared between distant minds. A field of correlation, a field of partnership, a field of quiet certainty in a world filled with gentle uncertainty. Entanglement does not care about miles or meters. It does not shrink when one particle moves away. It does not break unless something in the universe forces the state to decohere, to collapse from potential into definite outcomes. Until that moment, the connection holds. You drift nearer to one of the particles and sense its orientation. You do not force anything, you do not pull it. You simply feel its gentle spin, like a small compass needle floating in an invisible field. Then, far across the dark, you sense the other particles spin a line in perfect complement, instantly, effortlessly, as though the two are simply different notes of one chord, unable to vibrate out of harmony. The chord itself expands. You hear it now, not with your ears, but with a soft inner sense that hears dreams. A low tone, then a second tone, higher but gentle. Together they create a harmony that soothes the edges of your mind. This harmony is the sound of connection, connection without touch, connection without distance, connection without need. You drift through it, letting your breath sync with the tones. Inhale, the low note swells. Exhale, the high note softens. Inhale, warmth spreads. Exhale, your thoughts melt a little more. Entanglement becomes not a concept, but a feeling of belonging woven into the deepest layers of existence. You imagine now that the two particles are not just drifting in empty space, but in a universe full of others like them. Pairs entangled from the birth of galaxies, from the fusion in stars, from the scattering of light, from the earliest moments of the cosmos itself. Threads upon threads, connections upon connections, invisible bonds stretching through the vastness, not to carry messages, but to hold the memory of shared origins. Everywhere you look in this imagined field, tiny lights pulse in pairs, some close, some impossibly far. Each pair shares something quiet and eternal. Each pair glows with the same subtle rhythm. The universe seems filled with relationships you cannot see in daylight, connections woven into the very act of existence. As you drift among these pairs, you feel a growing softness in your chest. Not sadness, not joy, just a sense of being held by something gentle and expansive. A sense that even in the loneliest corners of the cosmos, nothing is ever truly alone. You float higher, seeing the entire field now, like a dark sky sprinkled not with stars, but with pairs of flickering lights connected by invisible warmth. A cosmic garden of relationships, an unseen web of unity. And in that web, your awareness finds rest. Because if the universe allows such deep connection between its smallest parts, then perhaps connection is the natural state of everything. Perhaps separation is only a surface illusion. Perhaps beneath the distances you feel in your life, there are quiet threads tying you to every person you've ever cared for. Threads you cannot see, but sometimes feel. A soft breeze moves across the imagined field. It is cool at first, brushing your skin like the edge of dawn, then warm like breath against your cheek. The breeze ripples through the glowing pairs, making them shimmer. You realize they are not static. Their light flickers with the rhythm of the universe. Low, slow, patient, ancient. A rhythm older than stars, older than galaxies, older than the emptiness between them. You drift toward the middle of the field, where the glowing pairs overlap in soft clusters. Here, the light feels warmer, the connections feel thicker, the hum feels deeper. Entanglement, you sense, is not an exception in the universe. It is the rule, a fundamental harmony, a quiet truth beneath the louder truths of daily life. The field brightens more. The two lights you followed earlier pulse in gentle farewell, drifting apart until they disappear into the distance, yet still connected in a way that does not diminish. You rest in the glow they leave behind, feeling the warmth settle around your shoulders like a shawl. Your breath grows even quieter, your body even heavier, your thoughts almost weightless. The field of entangled light slowly fades into a soft haze, dissolving into the background of your mind like stars growing faint in morning light. But the warmth remains, the sense of connection remains, the gentle certainty remains. And as you sink deeper into this calm, one final image drifts toward you, slow and tender. A reminder that in the deep fabric of existence, nothing is ever truly alone, and perhaps the same gentle threads that bind particles in the darkness hum quietly within you too. The warmth of those invisible threads quiets, settling like a soft glow behind your thoughts. The woven field of entangled lights begins to dim, not disappearing, but falling gently into the background of the night within you. And in the hush that follows, a new kind of space begins to open, vast, dark, and strangely alive. It feels at first like emptiness, a wide expanse of velvet black, stretching in every direction without boundary, a silence so still it seems untouched by breath, untouched by time. But as your awareness drifts into that space, you begin to sense something subtle underneath it, a vibration faint as the quiver of a single string, a whisper of motion that does not disturb the quiet but enriches it, like the soft hum beneath a held note. This is the quantum vacuum, not a void, not a barren absence, but a garden of potential, always blooming, always fading, always trembling with small acts of creation and dissolution. In classical thought, a vacuum is nothing, a place without matter, without energy, without anything that could influence the world. But the quantum world refuses such stark simplicity. Even the emptiest space cannot stay still. Even nothingness vibrates. Imagine the dark field beneath you stirring like soil after rain. There is no sound, yet you feel the movement. A gentle rising, a gentle falling, as though tiny breaths are being drawn by the fabric of space itself. Then from this darkness faint sparks appear, not bright, not sharp, just little motes of light, glowing for a moment, then vanishing before the thought of them fully forms. These are virtual particles, creatures of the vacuum, appearing in pairs, particle and antiparticle, borrowing existence from the uncertainty inherent in the world. They rise like dew from a meadow at dawn, shimmering only for an instant. Then they fade again, sinking back into the soft dark, leaving no trace except the quiet they disturbed. You watch the flicker. 2 sparks appear together, one a soft blue, one a soft gold. They swirl around each other in a brief, delicate loop, then both dissolve into the surrounding emptiness, as if they had never been. Another pair appears, and another. The entire field starts to shimmer like the surface of a lake at night, disturbed not by wind but by possibility. You drift through this quiet, flickering garden, sensing the coolness of the surrounding space, a cool that does not chill you, but clears your mind the way night air clears a summer room. The motes brighten for a heartbeat, then dim. Every appearance is brief enough to feel like a thought blinking into and out of awareness. In truth, these virtual particles are allowed by the rules of quantum mechanics. Uncertainty permits them to borrow energy from the vacuum for unimaginably small intervals of time, a tiny loan, a tiny life, a tiny vanishing. They are not figments. They are not dreams. Their effects can be measured in the real world, in the pressure they create between two metal plates placed very close together. That pressure, called the Casimir effect, is a whisper from the vacuum, a sign that emptiness is not empty at all. In your inner vision, the plates do not appear as metal, but as two soft silver surfaces floating parallel to one another. Between them, the vacuum seems calmer, fewer flickers, fewer ripples. The space is constricted, unable to host as many virtual sparkles as the wide-open dark around it. Outside the plates, the flickering seems stronger, more virtual pairs blooming and dissolving, and the imbalance creates a gentle push, as if the vacuum itself is pressing the plates together. You watch this gentle pressure form, a slow drift inward, a touch of motion that feels almost like the space is exhaling, a sigh from nothing, a fingerprint from emptiness. You drift back into the wider dark, letting the silver plates fade from view, melting back into the quiet. The vacuum around you grows deeper again, returning to its shimmering garden of fleeting sparks. Some sparks appear as pinpoints, some as faint spirals, some as tiny waves that rise and collapse before they can crest. You sense their movement not in the way you sense physical things, but as soft impressions on the surface of your mind. A brief brightening, a brief fading, a breath, a release. The dark field itself seems to pulse with these rhythms. The vacuum is not still. It is alive with the smallest possible acts of becoming and unbecoming, a constant dance of emergence. A constant return to silence. You allow yourself to float lower, as though sinking into warm water. The flickers pass beneath you in gentle waves, rising and falling like the sparks of fireflies in a field at night. Some gather in small constellations, forming momentary shapes, a curve, a spiral, a gentle branching. Then those shapes dissolve, leaving only the hush of dark possibility behind. The quiet becomes soothing, not empty, soothing. The way a deep forest feels soothing when all the animals have settled and only the soft heartbeat of the world remains. You lean into this quiet. Your breath becomes even slower, even softer, even rounder at the edges. You feel the steadiness of your body, the heaviness of your limbs, the weight of your head on the pillow. But your awareness is drifting in the vacuum now, carried along by the rising and falling of virtual light. A new flicker appears in front of you, larger than the others, brighter, lasting a little longer than the rules should allow. It glows in gentle pulses, expanding and contracting like the heartbeat of some small cosmic creature. It isn't a real particle, it isn't a dream, it is a fluctuation. A moment where the vacuum's uncertainty blooms wide enough to be seen by your inner vision. It pulses again, letting off a faint golden sheen that reaches your skin. The warmth is delicate. It feels like the glow of a candle held at a distance, or the warmth of a memory resting lightly on your chest. As the glow expands, you sense something comforting in its presence. a reminder that even in stillness there is motion, even in silence there is hum, even in nothingness there is creation. You drift closer, letting the golden fluctuation wash over you. It blankets you in soft light, slowing your thoughts, smoothing the edges of your mind. The warmth doesn't rise or fall abruptly. It moves like a tide, touching and retreating in long, slow breaths. Then, with one final shimmer, the golden glow contracts and dissolves into the vacuum, fading into darkness as gently as a sigh fades into the night. There is no sadness in its fading, only calm. It is the nature of these things to come and go, to appear and vanish, to be born from uncertainty and return to uncertainty. You drift backward, giving the vacuum space to settle again. The flickering becomes finer now, as though the field has grown shy. Tiny sparks appear only in the corners of your awareness. The darkness deepens, the quiet spreads. And within that quiet, the idea begins to settle inside you, not as a thought to analyze, but as a small truth to rest against. Even emptiness is full of hidden life. Even silence is full of quiet sound. Even the darkest spaces are never truly void. In the smallest cracks of the universe, existence stirs. In the spaces between particles, fields tremble. In the gaps between moments, possibility moves. You lie with this truth the way someone might lie beneath a blanket of stars, not to catalogue, not to understand, but to feel the immensity of what surrounds them. The vacuum becomes a sky. The virtual sparks become distant galaxies, and you become a quiet presence floating between them, supported by the soft gravity of the universe. Your breath slows again. The vacuum dims further. Even the flickering begins to fade, like embers cooling at the bottom of a fire pit. And in that fading light, one last image rises soft as a tide, a sense that even silence holds a secret pulse, like a heartbeat beneath the floor of the cosmos. The faint pulse beneath the floor of the cosmos lingers, slow and deep, like the echo of a drum heard through several walls. It hums there for a long moment, holding the dark still, holding your breath still, as though the universe itself is pausing between heartbeats. And from that pause, something begins to shift, not in brightness, not in sound, but in the quality of the quiet. It lengthens, it stretches, it becomes elastic, like a soft fabric pulled gently by unseen hands. You feel the stretch too. The moment you're in expands slightly, as though the boundaries of now loosen and drift outward. What just happened feels nearer. What is about to happen feels slower to arrive. Time itself seems to soften at the edges, relaxing into a gentler rhythm. This is the threshold of quantum time. Not the rigid ticking of clocks, not the steady sweep of seconds, but the softer, more fluid movement that lies beneath those dependable measures. A motion that does not march, but drifts. A motion that does not insist, but breathes. You imagine the vacuum beneath you, still warm from the pulse of virtual light, beginning to sway. Not in waves this time, but in slow, tidal motions that widen and contract like lungs. Each sway feels like a moment passing, not counted, not measured, just felt. Moments in the quantum world do not flow in even steps. They carry probabilities. They hold rhythms made of chance. Events unfold not because a clock strikes, but because a certain likelihood ripens, like fruit softening on a branch. You let the idea wash over you gently, without reaching for its details. Just the feeling of time loosening. Just the softness of possibility guiding the unfolding of things. Far in the imagined darkness, a faint glow appears. Not a particle this time, not a wave. Something slower, more patient. A small hill of light rising from the vacuum like a sunrise in miniature, then sinking again, fading into shadow. This rise and fall repeats, a quiet pulse that seems to count something deeper than seconds. A probability wave, a pattern of maybe now and not yet. In the quantum world, certain events, like the decay of a particle, do not happen at fixed intervals. They happen according to a soft mathematical rhythm. A slow curve of chance, a distribution of when the universe might choose to let something change. Decay is not guaranteed at one moment or another. It hovers, it waits. It exists in a state of potential, like a raindrop gathering weight before it falls from a leaf. You picture that now, a single droplet suspended beneath a wide leaf in a dark forest. It grows heavier with each passing heartbeat. Its surface trembles, the leaf flexes under its weight, and then, when the moment ripens, it falls. Not because the leaf prefers one moment or the next, not because time demanded it, but because the balance shifted, because a threshold was crossed, because the probability bloomed into action. Quantum events often unfold just like that droplet. Quiet potential that suddenly becomes real. Moments that hover in superposition until the universe sways and lets them fall. You breathe into this imagery, feeling how even your own life has moments like this. Decisions that wait at the edge of becoming, feelings that hover before revealing themselves, changes that arrive not when scheduled, but when something inside you ripens. Quantum time is not foreign. It is the rhythm beneath change itself. You drift deeper, following the slow sway of the vacuum. The darkness warms around you. The rises and falls of probability glow gently beneath your awareness, like lanterns beneath a thin veil. Another image forms, a wall, smooth, pale, and cool to the touch. It stands between you and a soft pool of light on the other side. In the classical world, such a barrier would be absolute. In the macro world, you know, things do not pass through walls, but in the quantum world, particles sometimes do, not by breaking the wall, not by forcing their way through, but by slipping into a possibility where the wall briefly loses meaning. This is quantum tunneling, a quiet and astonishing truth. Particles can appear on the other side of an energy barrier they do not possess enough energy to cross, not in defiance of physics, but because physics at this scale is woven from probabilities rather than certainties. You imagine a small glowing particle approaching the wall. It moves slowly as though listening to something deep inside the structure of the universe. Then it pauses. Its light dims for a moment. The vacuum hums around it. A soft ripple spreads through space like a trembling held breath. Then, without force or sound, the particle appears on the other side of the wall, its glow brightening as though relieved. You feel the weight of this possibility, not as a scientific curiosity, but as a metaphor for all the quiet passages in life where you found yourself on the far side of a barrier without knowing how you crossed it. Moments when grief softened suddenly, moments when clarity appeared unexpectedly, moments when change arrived quietly in the night. Quantum tunneling happens because the wave function of a particle never ends at a wall. It extends beyond it, fading but never quite reaching zero. There is always a chance, however small, that the particle's presence will bloom on the other side, always a thread of possibility reaching forward. You picture that thread now, thin, luminous and trembling. A line of soft light stretching through the wall, on the other side of which the particle has already begun to glow. The idea soothes you. Barriers are not always absolute. Edges are not always sharp. The future is not always closed. Even the smallest parts of the universe find gentle ways to slip through obstacles and emerge where they were not expected. Your breath deepens. Your body grows heavier. You feel yourself drifting in a place where time is not a sequence but a fabric that folds, stretches, relaxes, contracts. The vacuum around you begins to pulse again, but now the pulses feel slower, wider, as though time itself is breathing with an even more languid rhythm. The moments stretch farther, the pauses deepen, the quiet grows warmer. In this softened time, you sense another truth emerging. The arrow of time, the direction in which everything unfolds, is not written in the quantum world. There, time can move forward or backward in the equations. The small-scale rules do not prefer a direction. The arrow of time arises only when countless microscopic events blend together, creating the macroscopic flow you know, the flow from order to disorder, from memory to forgetting, from past to future. But beneath that arrow, time is symmetrical, fluid, open. You let your mind rest in this fluidity, allowing past and future to feel a little less rigid. Your memories soften, your expectations fade. What remains is simply this moment, long, slow, spacious. The vacuum pulses again. Each pulse becomes a cradle, holding you a little deeper. The rises and falls of probability become the rises and falls of breath. Matter and time feel intertwined, like threads of the same soft fabric. And in this fabric you feel yourself suspended, not drifting forward, not sliding backward, just floating in the wide, calm expanse of now. Your thoughts thin, your muscles slacken. Your awareness becomes a quiet ripple on a vast, dark sea. The quantum world does not rush toward the future. It does not cling to the past. It holds possibility in stillness, letting moments drift until they choose to unfold. You rest within that stillness now, between potentials, between breaths, between the drifting and the holding. And the final image of this part settles over you like a veil. Time, less a clock and more a breath the universe takes in its sleep. The universe is long, slow exhale drifts outward, and as it settles, the darkness around you grows softer, almost velvety, as if time's breath has brushed the edges of your awareness clean. The sense of drifting lingers, wide, gentle, unhurried, but something within that drifting begins to turn inward, like a ripple curling back toward its source. The vastness does not disappear. It simply steps back a little, allowing a quieter landscape to rise into focus. Not a landscape of stars or waves or fields, a landscape of your own mind, dim, warm, weightless. A place where thought and sensation blend together like watercolor pigments meeting in still water. The boundary between the outer quantum world and your inner world softens here. Not erased, not merged, just softened, the way fog loosens the edges of distant hills. You feel a faint glow behind your closed eyes, not light exactly, not imagination exactly, but a soft awareness, pulsing with the rhythm you've been following through the vacuum, through time, through the subtle architectures of the unseen. As that glow grows clearer, you begin to sense small movements in your thoughts, not whole ideas, not sentences, just flickers, tiny possibilities drifting at the surface of your awareness. They appear the way virtual particles did, rising from the vacuum, quick, gentle, dissolving before they form into anything solid. You notice one flicker, a soft memory, another, a feeling with no name. Another, the echo of a voice you once heard. Not speaking, only humming at the edge of recall. These flickers drift like dust motes floating in a beam of light. You do not reach for them. You simply watch them rise and fade. The quantum world behaves like this too. Events hovering in potential before becoming real. Superpositions waiting, probabilities drifting. Moments of maybe existing before one path crystallizes. And your mind mirrors this beautifully. Thoughts arrive not as singular certainties, but as clouds of possibilities. Before you choose one to follow, it rests in a soft mental superposition, a cluster of maybes shimmering together. You see it now. How closely the rhythm of mind resembles the rhythm of the smallest world. Not because neurons behave like electrons in a strict scientific sense, but because awareness moves in waves. Focus collapses those waves into a single point. Unfocus allows them to spread. You let your focus soften again. Your awareness expands like a slow breath inside a warm room. The edges of your thoughts blur. The flickers drift more freely. You feel inside your mind the same kind of spaciousness that filled the vacuum, a sense that emptiness is never empty, that silence is never truly silent, that even the calmest moment is full of subtle motion. You drift deeper into this inner landscape. It is dim but not dark, quiet but not empty, soft but not shapeless. A warm glow forms beneath you, like the surface of a still lake reflecting the faintest light. You rest above it without sinking. It holds you without effort. Above you, small sparks appear. Not memories, not images, just impressions of potential thoughts, floating with the grace of fireflies slowed to half their speed. Their motion is gentle. Their presence is light. Their meaning is unimportant. You watch them with the same calm attention you brought to the flickers in the quantum vacuum. Here too things appear and disappear without urgency. Here too change arises from stillness. A soft breeze seems to move through your inner world, though you feel no air on your skin. It is a breeze of attention, the movement of your awareness turning subtly, shifting the landscape the way observation shifts quantum states. When you look toward one flicker, it brightens slightly, taking on more clarity. When you let your gaze soften again, it dims back into possibility. The act of noticing changes the scene. This is true in physics. This is true in thought. Noticing is not neutral. It shapes what comes next. It collapses potential into presence. You breathe into this realization slowly, softly, letting it settle like dew on morning grass. Your thoughts do not need to be controlled here. You do not need to chase them or silence them. You can let them drift the way quantum states drift, calmly, quietly, without pressure to become something solid before they're ready. Letting thoughts drift is what allows sleep to come, not forcing quiet, not demanding stillness, but letting the flickers float in their natural rhythm. The inner glow beneath you begins to pulse again, rising and falling in a rhythm just slower than your breath. Each rise feels like a soft lifting of your awareness. Each fall feels like a deepening into stillness. As you drift with this pulse, another image begins to take shape. A single dust mote suspended in a beam of warm light. It floats in place, shaking ever so slightly. Not from wind, but from something subtler, the invisible motion of atoms beneath the surface of the world. This is Brownian motion, a tiny jitter caused by molecules colliding with the mote from every direction. You imagine those molecules now, tiny, trembling forms nudging the moat in random directions. Their movement is invisible, but the motion they create is not. Awareness works this way too. Countless tiny impressions, sounds, memories, sensations, emotions nudge the flow of thought, even when you do not notice them individually. The dust mote in the beam is the thought you become aware of. The countless collisions beneath it are the influences you never fully see. You feel the motion now, a gentle trembling at the edge of your awareness, a reminder that your thoughts do not arise from nothing, but from countless quiet causes moving beneath consciousness. Yet the trembling does not disturb you. It soothes you. It reminds you that even in stillness there is life. Even in calm there is motion. Even in rest, the universe continues to hum. You let the dust mote drift higher in the beam, turning slowly, catching light, shimmering softly like a floating star. Around it, the inner world grows larger. The beam widens, becoming a column of amber light. The air warms. The glow beneath you spreads outward until it feels like a gentle sea, pulsing under a golden sky. Thoughts no longer appear as flickers. They drift now as soft shapes, warm clouds, gentle spirals, floating ribbons of faint colour move in with the slow tide of your breath. The content of the thoughts matters less and less. Their shapes matter. Their motion matters. Their softness matters. You drift with them, not thinking them, not analysing them, just floating in their quiet company like a small leaf resting on a vast lake. You feel yourself moving further from logic, further from analysis, further from the sharp lines of waking thought. This shift is slow, natural, inevitable. You're entering the boundary between conscious awareness and the dreaming mind, a boundary as delicate as a soap film, as subtle as the moment before you fall asleep, as gentle as a change of light. Here, the quantum world becomes less a subject and more a companion. Its metaphors dissolve into feelings. Its rules become rhythms. Its strangeness becomes comfort. The inner sky dims again. The amber beam fades into twilight colours, lavender, silver, indigo. The dust mote is still there, still trembling softly, but you sense it drifting farther away, as though the light holding it is thinning. You do not mind. Things can drift here without being lost. Things can fade without leaving emptiness behind. You let yourself sink a little deeper into the warm sea below you. Its surface is smooth and reflective. You appear on it as a soft silhouette, undefined, peaceful, floating without weight. The reflection blurs at the edges. It ripples with your breath. It folds into soft waves that drift outward and dissolve. Your awareness grows spacious again, but this time the spaciousness is inside you, not outside. A sense of openness blossoms in your chest, not emotional, not cognitive, more like the feeling of stepping into a quiet room where nothing is expected of you. You rest in that room, you rest in yourself. Thoughts slow further, feelings settle, your body grows heavier still. The final image of this part gathers around you like a whisper in the twilight, awareness floating like a single dust mote in a beam of soft, patient light. The mote of light drifts higher, trembling in its quiet beam, and as it rises, the space around you begins to warm, not quickly, not brightly, just a slow bloom of gentle radiance, as though the universe has drawn a long breath and released it into the dark. The glow expands in soft concentric waves. They move outward with unhurried grace, brushing over you like warm air rolling through an open window on a calm evening. Each wave loosens something inside you, a small tension behind the ribs, a faint tightness in the jaw. A thought that had lingered too sharply at the edges of your mind. The light continues outward, washing the inner world in a warm, dusky gold. Its warmth is subtle, like the heat left behind on stones after sunset. You feel it against your skin, and the sensation settles into you with a quiet certainty of rest long overdue. This glow, this slow, expanding pulse, feels connected to everything you've drifted through so far. The waves, the threads, the fluctuations, the soft rhythms of time, as if all those motions have gathered now into a single breath, a single tide, a single gentle hum. You begin to sense the universe not as distant or abstract, but as something close, something familiar, something breathing with you. The air around you thickens slightly, as though infused with invisible light. You feel it on your arms, on the curve of your cheek, along the length of your back resting into softness. The glow does not illuminate the world, it softens it. It makes edges round, it makes distance small. And within this softened space, you sense a quiet unity, a subtle stitching together of all things, not a grand cosmic revelation, not a sudden understanding, just a gentle awareness that everything you've drifted through, particles, waves, vacuum flickers, time's slow breath, is part of one continuous tapestry. The glow strengthens a little, and in its warmth you begin to see faint shapes shimmering in the air, tiny waves moving across a dark meadow, fireflies drifting in slow arcs through an endless twilight, threads of gold pulsing like distant signals across a silent field, all moving to the same soft rhythm. These are not memories of the earlier sections, they are echoes. The universe gently reminding you, in the quietest way, that all things share one breath at their root. Every wave rises from a deeper calm. Every particle drifts along a quiet field. Every fluctuation blooms from the same emptiness. You feel this unity settling around you like a shawl of warm air. The glow sinks deeper into your awareness, moving from the space around you into the space within you. Your breath changes in response. It slows without effort. It widens without intention. Your chest rises like the crest of a soft wave, then falls as quietly as embers settling in a fire. The glow moves with your breath. It expands when you inhale, dims slightly when you exhale, as though the universe has synced itself to your rhythm, or perhaps you have synced yourself to the universe's. This is not a metaphor now, not a lesson, not a point being made. This is simply the feeling of belonging in a world made of trembling, beautiful smallness. You begin to sense the atoms in your body, not individually, not scientifically, but imaginatively, as tiny, warm lanterns, each one humming softly, each one glowing with the same gentle pulse, each one participating in the quiet dance of the universe. Your body becomes a constellation of these faint, warm lights, shoulders, arms, ribs, hips, legs, all resting, all glowing, all humming with the same slow frequency. The glow expands once more, filling the entire inner landscape. It feels like lying in a meadow at night, the air warm, the crickets quiet, the stars drifting behind thin clouds. Only now the meadow stretches in every direction without end, and the stars feel very close, as if they're watching over you with a patient, unblinking calm. The fireflies of earlier drift again through your awareness, but they move slower now, so slow you can almost count the spaces between their flickers. Their light falls gently on your skin. It seeps through your ribs, It settles behind your eyes like a soft hand smoothing your thoughts. You breathe again. The universe breathes with you. The glow brightens with your inhale, softens with your exhale. You feel your weight deepen, your limbs settle, your thoughts quiet. Nothing urges you forward here. Nothing asks for your attention. This is the part of the journey where curiosity dissolves, where analysis softens into sensation, where sensation fades into something quieter still. The gentle presence of being. The glow shifts colour now, melting into softer hues, pale rose, lavender, dusk blue. Each colour passes through you like a memory you never lived but somehow remember. Warm, slow, familiar. Above you, the sky opens wider. Not a literal sky, but an inner sky, the space where imagination and awareness touch. It stretches across your thoughts, turning everything inside you quiet and spacious. In this sky, faint waves appear, like ripples moving through an ocean at night. But these waves are not water, not sound, not light. They are the subtle motions of what lies beneath reality, the quantum fields humming through space, even through you. The waves drift slowly, curving gently, intersecting softly. Never sharp, never rushed. They cross paths like old friends brushing shoulders in a quiet hallway. You sense their motion more than you see it. A faint tug, a gentle pressure, a slight warming of the air. The waves move through you as well, leaving behind small pools of calm in their wake. One wave in particular rises with a soft golden shimmer. It swells around your awareness, not enveloping you, but inviting you to float along its curve. You drift upward, weightless, carried by this slow golden tide. Your breath matches its arc. Your heartbeat falls into its rhythm. The wave lifts you until the entire inner world feels suspended in its glow. The small dust motes, the warm lantern atoms, the fireflies, the meadow-like dark, all resting on the same gentle breathing field. Here, unity is not something to understand, it is something to feel. Warmth spreading slowly through your chest, quiet filling the spaces between thoughts, stillness gathering behind your eyes. The glow softens again. Your awareness sinks with it, like drifting down through a warm current in deep water. Everything becomes slower. Even the waves drift more lazily. Even the fireflies flicker further apart. Even the colours stretch into longer breaths. You feel a settling inside you, a kind of unclenching, as though your mind has loosened every thread it had been holding taut. The glow thins into a soft haze, like the last light before sleep. The waves flatten into calm. The universe's breath grows shallower, sliding almost imperceptibly into silence. And as the haze surrounds you, one final feeling rises, gentle, warm, immeasurable. All things shimmer together in a slow, comforting glow. The slow, comforting glow lingers around you, expanding and fading in long, quiet breaths. It feels less like light now, and more like warmth shaped into a soft, floating presence. A presence that holds the air, the space, your thoughts, with gentle steadiness. As the glow settles, the world inside you begins to tilt toward stillness. The waves that once moved beneath your awareness flatten into calm. The fireflies that drifted in slow arcs now rest in place, like tiny lanterns set upon distant hills. Even the colours that shimmered through your inner sky lengthen into long, softened strokes of dusk, blue and muted gold. Everything feels slower here, softer, as though the universe itself has curled into a quieter posture, tucking its edges in, letting its vastness rest. The horizon around you shifts, not sharply, not suddenly, but like a sheet of silk being laid across a bed, settling into faint folds. The folds dissolve into a gentle meeting of dark and light, warm and cool, near and far, all blending into a boundary so delicate it barely feels like a boundary at all. This is the softest horizon, a place where the universe no longer stretches outward endlessly, but gathers close, drawing its distant corners inward until everything feels near enough to touch with a whisper. The air moves with a quieter rhythm now, a rhythm so steady, so smooth, that your breath falls into it without effort. Each inhale becomes a small rise of warm air. Each exhale becomes a soft settling of night. You feel the rise settle into your chest. You feel the settling dissolve along your spine. Your body becomes heavier, but not burdened. Heavy the way a blanket becomes heavy when it warms you completely. Around you the glow dims again, slipping into the colour of distant starlight behind thin clouds. The stars do not shine sharply here. They do not pierce the darkness. They glow in muted halos, quiet and patient, resting just like you. And as you drift beneath them, you begin to sense something deep and tender in the air, a faint hum, a cooling warmth, a kind of cosmic hush. It is not sound, it is not silence, it is a feeling, like being held gently at the edge of sleep. The hum grows steadier, like the lingering resonance of a bell after it's been touched once and left to sing on its own. It vibrates lightly beneath your ribs, a low, soothing murmur, as if the universe has a heartbeat and you're close enough to feel it. The glow above you folds downward, like a veil drifting toward your skin. Its light becomes softer still, a barely there shimmer, the colour of soft breath on a cold window, or the faint memory of gold resting on water. As it lowers, the horizon widens. What was once a field of warm dark becomes a vast, gentle plain of quiet light. Not bright, not dim, just resting, just breathing. You sense yourself lying upon this plain, your weight sinking slightly into its warmth. The surface beneath you feels smooth, like fine sand warmed by sun and cooled by night. Your shoulders loosen, your spine settles, your hands soften at your sides. Thoughts thin into soft shapes, barely formed, drifting like small boats on a calm tide. None of them ask for attention. None of them lean forward. They simply sway gently, waiting for the tide to guide them wherever the night wishes them to go. Your mind follows this sway. You drift with the boats. You drift with the tide. You drift with the hum beneath everything. And as you drift, a quiet truth floats to the surface. Not spoken, not announced, simply felt. You are resting in a universe that rests with you. The stars above you ease into slower pulses. Their glow expands and contracts with your breath. The space between them grows warmer, as though the night is drawing a soft blanket across their quiet faces too. Behind the stars, the faint hum deepens, carrying the memory of everything you have drifted through. Electrons trembling in their unseen shells, particles bound by threads older than galaxies, virtual sparks rising and fading like dew, time folding into the shape of a breath. All of it returns now not as knowledge, not as concepts, but as a warm echo, a lullaby whispered from the fabric of existence. Your body loosens further, your thoughts settle. Your breath becomes the smallest ripple on the softest sea. And from this place of near sleep, a new image rises, the one the universe has been saving for this quiet moment. A horizon that is no longer distant, no longer defined, no longer separating you from anything, a horizon that glows softly within you, as though the boundary between self and cosmos is thinned to a single breath. The glow widens and you feel it settle inside your chest, a warm, slow radiance, deep and steady, shaped like the rhythm of something ancient and familiar. A rhythm older than memory, older than light, older than the first breath the universe ever took. It moves through you gently, like the tide of a dream, and in its motion you feel a quiet belonging, not one you need to earn, not one you need to understand, just one that has always been here, waiting beneath the noise of waking life. The glow continues its slow rhythmic pulse, and you drift with it, feeling yourself melt further into the warm plain, further into the soft horizon, further into the hum, and as the hum deepens, a final awareness begins to unfurl, one that carries the softness of starlight and the weightlessness of breath. Just as the quantum world moves inside every atom, the universe's quiet glow moves inside you too. You rest in that truth. You breathe with it. You let it settle over you like nightfall, and the horizon continues to breathe, slowly, softly, endlessly. The horizon breathes very slowly now, almost imperceptibly, as though the universe is exhaling into your thoughts with the gentlest possible touch. The warm plain beneath you seems to sink another layer deeper, becoming softer, more accepting, more attuned to the shape of your resting body. You feel as if you could melt entirely into it, becoming part of its quiet landscape, flattening into stillness like a small wave smoothing into the shore. The stars above you dim further, their halos soft as brushed silk. They no longer twinkle or shift. They no longer shimmer or call attention. They simply rest, small, patient companions of the night, mirroring your slow descent inward. Your breath thins into almost nothing, a slow rise, a long fall, a pause that feels like a tender hand holding silence. Within that pause you sense the universe leaning closer, not to speak, not to reveal, but simply to stay near. The hum beneath everything becomes softer than a whisper, a vibration so gentle it feels more like a memory than a sound. It moves around the edges of your awareness, then through the center of it, spreading into the quiet spaces your thoughts once filled. There is no effort now, not in breathing, not in sensing, not in being. You're resting the way a leaf rests in still water, supported entirely, carried completely, moving only where the softest currents guide. The warm plain beneath you begins to glow again, but the glow is faint, the kind of light that appears behind closed eyes just before sleep gathers you in its arms. It pulses once, twice, each time slower, longer, more drowsy. The horizon folds closer, its edges dissolving like mist gently drifting through the last dim light of evening. Where the horizon once marked distance, now it feels like a soft boundary within you, a quiet joining of the inner world and the outer one, a place where they meet, touch, and slowly become indistinguishable. The glow moves into your chest, then into your breath, then into the space behind your eyes. Everything warms, everything slows, everything softens. You sense, with the faintest awareness, that this warmth carries an old truth, one the universe has held since long before your first breath. The atoms that make you were forged in ancient stars. Hydrogen born in the first flashes of the universe, helium pressed into being by ancient suns, carbon kindled in the hearts of red giants, calcium and oxygen shaped in cosmic furnaces, iron poured from the cores of dying stars and scattered into space to become the seeds of worlds. You feel that history now, not as a lesson, not as a thought, but as a soft vibration moving through your bones, a reminder that your body carries the quiet memory of the universe's oldest light. The horizon breathes again, and in its breath you sense the gentle truth. You belong to this cosmos not just by observation, not just by curiosity, but by composition. You are made of its quiet fires. You are shaped from its earliest tremors. You rest in rhythms older than time as you know it. The hum deepens one last time, becoming a long, low note that holds you like a cradle woven from warm air. Your thoughts loosen entirely, drifting into soft, indistinct currents. Names fade, images blur. Even your sense of self becomes feather-light, as if you're dissolving into the warm plain, joining its stillness, becoming part of the horizon's breath. The stars settle into their final dim glow. The air around you cools just slightly, in the way night air cools a room moments before sleep. The glow in your chest becomes slower, rounder, closer to silence. And in the deepest hush, you find yourself echoing the very first feeling of this journey. That small, quiet hum in the air. Only now it is not around you, it is inside you, soft, steady, endless. The universe rests with you. The glow rests with you. You rest with the slow pulse of the cosmos, and everything for now is still. The quiet hum settles deeper, sinking through the dark, the way a final note settles into the strings that carried it. The glow softens into something nearly weightless, as if it has slipped beneath your thoughts and become part of the stillness holding you. Somewhere far off, the horizon that once shimmered gently now rests in a single, calm line, no longer rising, no longer shifting, simply breathing in its own slow way. And that breath meets yours with a tenderness almost too soft to feel, like the air brushing your skin when night first begins, a faint memory of warmth, a faint memory of light. It all returns quietly, the pulse of distant waves, the drifting shimmer of unseen particles, the soft tremble of time loosening around the edges. But now they no longer move outward. Now they fold inward, curling into the quiet center of you, gathering into a single calm hum that rests where your breath rests. The universe does not fade, it settles. It leans gently into silence the way the mind leans into sleep. And in that hush, you feel again the first thing you felt when this journey began. A presence in the air around you, warm and patient. A soft reminder that, even in the smallest spaces, the universe has always been humming. Only now, that hum lives within you, slow, steady, endlessly quiet, and everything drifts, everything breathes, everything, for now, is still.